My name is Justine Nettleton, and I am studying for my doctorate of education in curriculum and instruction for instructional design and technology. I have chosen Martin Luther, the father of the Protestant Reformation, for this video assignment. Martin Luther was born November 10th, 1483, and he was born to peasants. But they were Christians and prayerful parents, and they wanted to send him to school to be educated. So they saved their money, and they were able to send him to school. He was born in a small town of Eisleben in Germany, and he did very well in school, not because he was smarter than the average student, but because he chose to work hard at it. At that point in time, the doctrine of salvation by works was what most people followed. And the harder you worked at learning about the Lord and getting educated so you could learn about the Lord, I think the better off you would be, or he thought that, Martin Luther did, that he could earn his way to find peace. That's basically what he was doing. He became a monk against his parents' wishes. He was studying to be a lawyer and chose to become a monk instead. Did not make his parents very happy. He chose one of the strictest monasteries, the Order of the Augustinian Hermits in Erfurt, Germany. And he was sure in this way he would find peace. At this point in time, the masses, most people did not read. They were illiterate. If you were wealthy or in royalty, you had the opportunity to be educated, but otherwise you weren't. Even a number of priests were not educated. So through this situation, the Catholic Church became a bit corrupt. They became quite wealthy as they would sell indulgences to their laity. And an indulgent was a way of a laity, a person, a believer, a sinner, to pay to reduce the amount of punishment that person would receive because of the sin in their lives. But most laity were understood that they were unable to ever be perfect, that they would never be able to read the word, understand the word, and they also would never be able to be perfect in God, and that they were all going to have a very difficult time ever getting into heaven. Perhaps that's why there was purgatory. But saying all that, it just wasn't a good place for the illiterate masses to be. So this is why we now have the Protestant, or had at that point in time, the Protestant Reformation. It was a turning point for Christianity and the Catholic Church. And again, it was basically because of those indulgences that people had to pay to be forgiven of their sins versus the word of faith. For Martin Luther, he had quite a disagreement with the philosophers of the time because they believed in reasoning, and that you needed to be able to reason to understand humanity and the ways of the world. And Martin Luther was in a disagreement with that. However, he did believe that there was some benefit to understanding reason, because you need reason to understand the basic difference between the human and animals. And man is, or has, dominion over the animals, so therefore a man needed to understand reason. However, reasoning is limited. It doesn't have revelation. There's no basis in faith, scriptures. Reason is an incomplete story of the human and of the world and human's connection to the world. So theology, in Luther's mind, is that it connects God to the human being, making the whole and perfect human being. God was the creator. He was the fundamental creator. He is the only creator. He is the efficient creator. And by knowing God through theology, there is everlasting joy and salvation. Human beings are sinners, but also through theology, there is grace and salvation. Whereas with reason, there is no grace. There is no way of finding real peace. So reason without theology, you cannot understand life and the connection of humanity with the world fully. And something to be said there is, today we have taken theology, the Bible, back out of school. We've taken prayer out of school. And once again, reason is the basic humanistic thought for our students, and that truth is based on their experiences and on them reasoning their humanity in the world. And that's why I think you're seeing a lot of depression and suicide in our students today. With Martin Luther, he was adamant about the importance of the priesthood of the believer, or the universal priesthood. And this meant that there needed to be an educational system for all people of any level, whether that be the peasant, the worker, or the laity, the believers, the sinners, those of high-ranking positions or those of lower-ranking positions, that all should be able to read. So all needed to be educated. That included women, even if at least at a basic level, so that they could actually determine and understand sin and the consequences of sin, and that they could understand that being part of the kingdom of kings and priests, that by studying the Word of God, they could make a decision whether they needed to be buying indulgences, or whether the church was corrupt or not, and that they would be able to, through the reading of the Word and understanding of the Word, it would no longer be a doctrine of salvation by works, but could come to the understanding that it would be a doctrine of salvation by faith and through faith. I believe that Martin Luther believed that one must study to show themselves approved to God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, and rightly dividing the word of truth. We know that 2 Timothy 2:15. But you can't study the Word of God if you cannot read. And so therefore, Martin Luther believed that we should have free education for the masses. And some other theological reasons about the priesthood of the believer, we have 1 Peter 2:9. But ye are a chosen royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. And Revelations 5:10, and hast made us unto our God priests and kings, and we shall reign on the earth. Again, this is from the BibleGateway.com, but from King James Version. Please note that if you can't read the Bible, you can't learn, and therefore the church itself and government could be in control of you and your livelihood, because you have no basic truth to live on or to base your life on if you can't read the Bible. And therefore, it brings me back to Martin Luther, the father of the Protestant Reformation. I think that we can all thank God for Martin Luther, beginning of the change of the Catholic Church and Christianity during his time frame.